I think you could probably argue that mice and rats are looking for the same thing. They're looking for food and water and shelter. And restaurants do offer all these things, but we don't want to have them in there. So every battle of, or every restaurant has a battle. And the same battle is...
In an article entitled, "Why Do So Many Restaurants Have Roaches?" the author of that article stated this. They said, cockroaches are looking for food, shelter, and water. That sounds like all the three qualities that you and I are looking for when you boil it down in life. And they said further that they are looking for that, and restaurants offer an abundance of all these things. I think you could probably argue that mice and rats are looking for the same thing. They're looking for food and water and shelter. And restaurants do offer all these things, but we don't want to have them in there. So every battle of, or every restaurant has a battle. And the same battle is pest control, keeping insects out, keeping rodents out of their QSR. So how can a QSR, or any restaurant for that matter, battle against pests? Well, number one, you got to deny them all those three things. And so how can you deny all the water, the shelter, and the food? Well, first of all, no access, right? Don't let them get in, and then they won't find a place to nest and multiply and invade and cause damage, or even pass along illness, and that can happen through them. So they're kind of nasty insects. So anyway, first of all, no access for the building for any pest or insects. The second thing is, I think under that you have to take care of any drippy faucets. So dripping faucets is not just a water problem. It's not just drip, drip, drip. It's waste of money and everything, although it is. But when you have a drippy faucet or you have leaky pipes, that's a great place for animals to come in and feel like, hey, I'm at home. I've got water supply, right? It's a steady drip. So make sure that those are repaired. I think another thing is make sure that all the food is in sealed containers, and that the containers are high and lifted up. Everything's lifted up off the floor. Nothing's left in bags, and so forth. In the dry storage area. I think another thing that just to consider is that sometimes kitchens, pantries will have a clutter area, a drawer, or maybe it's a closet that it's visited very rarely, right? So make sure that you have no clutter closets. Make sure you have no clutter in the corners, because that's where insects and mice and everything, they can nest, and they need a place to nest, right? So we want to make sure that we're denying them access. No water, no food, no nesting place. And so you got to deny them all three. I think a second thing to consider is this. Establish exterior barriers and traps all around your building. Now, you don't want to put it right where guests are walking in and so forth. You want to make sure that it's free of that. That sends a wrong message, right? But do ensure that your thresholds to your building, that they're in good repair. Make sure that they seal properly when the door's shut. If you can see light underneath there, you need to make sure that you correct that, or have a professional come in and fix that for you. Also, the windows. Make sure the windows, most windows in a restaurant they don't open, right? They're there just to look out. They look pretty, to let the sunlight in. But if you have a drive-through window that opens and closes, make sure it seals properly when it's shut. And that way you can prevent that overnight from these critters from coming in. I think another thing to consider is the foundation, exterior walls. Is there any cracks, any holes? I mean, mice and insects can get through very, very small cracks and holes in the foundation or in the walls. So make sure that those are sealed up. The third thing I want to suggest is this: you can use biological methods, of course, at your discretion and at the company's discretion, and you only want to use them in the essential areas around the facility. Basically, I would believe that you would want to enlist the help of a professional in this area. And so there's so many of them, and they use different various chemicals, and you can talk to them about that. What do you want to use in your business? But I will say this: the second thing is this: enlist the help of your team. The people on your team, the people on the staff, if they see something, they say something, right? If they see, mouse droppings, if they see evidence that there might be a rodent in the building, they see something, they say something, and they post it on some type of channel, like a Slack, or at least they leave you a note or a message, or they have a conversation with you. They don't just scream out, those kinds of things, and make all the guests afraid to eat there. Also, you can enlist the workaround or the walk around method. And the walk around method is just you walking around the store and you periodically just looking for evidence that you might have a rodent or an insect problem. So this will be a never-ending uphill battle for every restaurant to prevent pests from entering in and overrunning their store. It's like my father used to say, it's really, in nature, you can't help if a bird flies over your head, but you can help that bird from building a nest in your hair. And that's what we're talking about. You've got to constantly, there's going to be mice in the world, there's roaches in the world, but they don't have to be in your store. So you want to take the measures that you can. Pest control is not about ridding yourself of nature on the property, but it is about limiting the effect of nature from overrunning or overtaking your property. And so remember the adage that a ship in the water is a beautiful sight, but water in the ship, that's a big problem, right? And so respect the persistence of pests like rodents and insects. You can respect their persistence. You just got to be more persistent.